Welcome back, everybody, to the Future Strong podcast. Today, we're going to be taking a look at something a little bit different than our usual self-help books and articles. We're going to be diving into a poem called A Stupid Question, Internal Monologue of Self-Improvement. And what's really interesting about this is that it was written by a 16-year-old.
Wow.
I don't know about you, but when I was 16,
Yeah.
self-improvement was not exactly at the top of my mind.
Right.
I was thinking about
Other things.
other things. Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
So to have this level of introspection and self-awareness at that age, I think is really fascinating.
Absolutely.
And we have you here today to help us unpack this
Yes.
and share your insights with us.
I'm happy to be here.
So let's jump right into it. The poem starts with this line, "Why don't I learn instead of repeat?" And that just immediately struck me because I think that's something that so many of us can relate to no matter how old we are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's that feeling of we know we should do better, be better, but we somehow end up making the same mistakes over and over.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is how that feeling is actually reflected in the structure of the poem itself. You see this repetition of words like believe and repetition throughout the poem, and it kind of creates this sense of being trapped in a loop, which really mirrors that internal struggle that the speaker's describing.
Yeah, it's like they're caught in this cycle, not just in their actions, but also in their thoughts.
Exactly.
And, there's this tension, this internal conflict that comes out in the poem, too. On the one hand, there's this desire for self-improvement. But on the other hand, there's this feeling of being stupid or not having a voice. What do you think is going on there?
Well, I think you have to consider what it's like to be 16.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out who you are, what you believe in, and you're facing all these pressures from school, your social life, your family.
Right.
It's a time of incredible vulnerability and self-doubt, even though you're also striving for independence and authenticity.
Yeah, and that vulnerability really comes through in the emotional swings that the speaker describes. There's this one line that says, 2 weeks, I'm happy. 2 months, I am stupid.
Wow.
It's so raw and honest, and it just made you wonder how common are these kind of intense emotional shifts for teenagers?
Extremely common. Adolescence is a period of such rapid brain development, hormonal changes, and it's all happening while they're trying to navigate a world that often feels confusing and contradictory.
Right.
So these ups and downs, these feelings of inadequacy or uncertainty, they're all part of the process.
And then there are these lines that really jumped out at me.
Yeah.
Think, remember who I am. It almost feels like a command,
Right.
Like a desperate attempt to break free.
Like a rallying cry.
Yes, exactly. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it speaks to that inner battle that we all face at times. The speaker is really grappling with this negative self-talk, with confusion. And these lines are like a reminder to hold on to their true self amidst all the chaos.
Right, to try to find that solid ground. And then the poem ends with this line that I think is just brilliant. In its simplicity and its complexity, it says, "Nothing on this crooked sphere is serious, but that isn't how I feel."
Wow.
And I think it just perfectly captures that disconnect between knowing something intellectually and truly believing it emotionally.
It does, and it's a really powerful insight. We can understand logically that setbacks are a part of life, that mistakes don't define us, but that doesn't always translate to how we feel in the moment.
Right.
And that tension, that struggle to align our heads and our hearts, it's something we all grapple with throughout our lives, not just at 16.
Exactly. And so we have this poem that explores self-doubt, the cyclical nature of growth, the intensity of emotions, all through the lens of a 16-year-old's experience. But it really does raise these universal questions that are relevant to all of us.
It does. It makes us think about how we navigate our own journeys of self-improvement. How do you learn from our mistakes without getting caught in that loop of self-recrimination? How do we cultivate self-compassion even when we stumble?
Those are such important questions. And I think this poem really serves as a reminder that growth isn't always linear.
Absolutely.
It's messy. It's emotional. And sometimes it means facing those uncomfortable truths about ourselves. So thank you for joining us today on the Future Strong podcast, and I hope this conversation has given you some food for thought
Me too.
about your own journey of self-improvement. And we'll see you next time.